Welcome, welcome. Listeners, today we have with us Salman and Julia, the social media coordinators at the Illinois Psychological Association. But I have to tell you, they are so much more than volunteer social media folk. Um, and this is where I will put your bios. So, welcome, Salman and Julia. It doesn't matter to me which one of you goes first, but can you introduce yourselves and then just tell me what is your blazer mood today?
My name is Salma Nadeem, and my blazer mood today, I'm a little anxious, so I feel like a little purpley for like calm vibes, like lilac and something a little soothing is kind of my blazer mood for today.
I love that. I love that. Thank you. And then, Julia, what's your blazer mood today?
Yes, my name's Julia Jockeman. I'm also a second year PsyD student here at Adler University. I actually was thinking about this when I was getting ready this morning. I have this like tacky Chicago Bears blazer because they play tonight, and I was like, it's too cheesy. So I went with something a little bit more chic and traditional to give some confidence.
I love it. I love it. And I also feel like Abby and I are not intimidating people, although we do often wear bright lipstick. We're not, we hope to our presence helps you to feel calm.
Stick that Christina got me as a gift. So, Jason,
Abby, what's your blazer mood today?
um, probably like a blazer that has patches on the elbows. Just feeling like it's starting to get a little bit fall-ish outside, and um, yeah. So, like if I was a university professor or something like that. I think that's my mood. How
I
about you?
love it.
What's your blazer?
I really think I'm wearing kind of a sweater-ish blazer today, and it is taupe and it is knit. And I think I would want like a taupe knit blazer that is cozy because it's 67 degrees in Chicago today. It is a brisk fall day, and I love it personally. I can't wait to change over my closet.
Me too.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I need to look for my sweaters, and I remember that they're all in boxes in the basement, so I need to switch out my closet.
Yes, it is that time of year. How privileged are we that we get to
Mhm.
change out?
Yes. Well, shall we move into what's in our cup? So, let's start with Simon and Julia. Tell us what is in your cup today. So, for example, for right now, I am drinking a mini Diet Coke in my cup. I don't have a cup, I have a little can. But coffee or like you're in school right now. So,
Yeah.
Yes.
I was at Goddess and the Baker earlier, and I got like a iced matcha yuzu Americano thing, and I usually don't have that. I usually love matcha, but I never had it like Americano style, and it was really delicious. It was like bright and had like the citrus notes in it, so that was good. And I felt like coffee would have made me a little too jittery, so the matcha was a nice balance.
I love it. I love it.
The good matcha. I am just drinking trusty Aquafina today. But I did this morning treat myself to a salted caramel
Ooh,
cold brew
yum.
or salted caramel cold foam cold brew. Lots of cold and it's a mouthful, but it was the perfect sign of fall because I saw apple cider vinegar donuts. So I treated myself this morning to coffee.
Oh my gosh, all of that sounds amazing. I am also with Julia today. I'm a water girl. I think that there are also allergies in the air and they are affecting me already. So unfortunately, just boring water. How about you, Abby?
just the mini Diet Coke
Oh,
is I got going on right now. But I've already had my mini iced coffees for the morning.
right. Yeah, it's shocking how much caffeine I now need in order to stay awake. But ladies, thank you so much for joining us here today. I have so many questions because your backgrounds are absolutely amazing. You're both in graduate school and demanding programs that require intensity and focus, and yet you've signed up to do this very worthy cause for IPA and being our volunteer social media coordinators. Why are you interested in this? Like, what about social media or media in general interests you enough to take time away from what you really want to focus on in your career, to promote a nonprofit?
I think that much of our work in grad school is still creative, and you're writing papers and you're thinking outside the box, but social media and design in general for posts feels kind of cathartic, and it is create another creative outlet. Um, and Salmon and I feel like have a good sense of what media literacy looks like today and how to bridge different age gaps and connect people and use social media as like a tool. And I always have been passionate about social media just on my own with passion projects or running social media accounts for like other volunteer organizations. And IPA just seems like the perfect marrying of interest with psychology and social media. So I've been very excited about this couple of months. We
Yeah,
started in May
started
and excited to see where it grows.
Yeah, I totally second with everything she just said. I honestly feel like because of the way that social media is taking off, there is more of like a connection between what we do with school and like the social media, like because it is kind of the next platform for the newer generation of psychologists that are going to be able to use it and connect and communicate. And I definitely think that given all the saturation of like information and data, it's really important to have professional organizations that are committed to like evidence-based research and like knowing that these are the places that you can come from for factual information, given like I said all the like misinformation out there and how people will just like put their opinion on there and it'll look like it's facts, right? And everyone, so I think that it's important for us to include professional organizations, especially for psychology, in social media, because it is just the new wave, and you either get on or you fall behind. So I really am happy that we're kind of like branching out and doing that with this organization.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that, like with the misinformation, you see a lot of people giving recommendations but not leading you to resources or like what to do with when you're struggling or XYZ reason. So using IPA is like a place to be grounded in research and point people in the right direction. It's also important.
So as a bit of a follow-up to that, how either are you for IPA, but how do you suggest people identify themselves as real information? How do you expect consumers to pick your information over the vast amounts that are out there that are either inaccurate or misleading?
Yeah, I think that's a really important question because it really depends on like what people want to pay attention to, right? And like if their attention is if they understand like, oh, what our little citation is right at the bottom of our slides and that we have that citation page, like that means that we actually put in the work to make sure that what we're saying has been proven and that it's not just something that we decided was opinion and that we want to like put it out there, right? Like we're representing psychologists, and that is what psychologists do, is that they look into evidence-based research, they collaborate, they, if there's disagreements, it's still educational disagreements and it's still like collaboration to understanding. So I think it's hard. I definitely think it's going to be a newer thing of explaining to people why it's important, and like kind of it'll need its new wave, just because we weren't, not that we, but a lot of organizations weren't at the brink of this when social media took off. So it will be like I think it'll be a battle, but I think it's still something that a lot of other organizations are starting to realize and kind of push for, and kind of push like this is why this is important and things like that.
Yeah, and like beyond just credibility, which obviously is important, and having like association at the end of your title definitely helps. But nowadays, it's so important to capture people's attention within like 5 seconds of them interacting or seeing your content. So somebody want to watch like a video with someone's face and like they're talking to you and it feels more personal, or like scrolling and reading a bunch of things that just feels like too much to consume, or you only have so little time, or you're like, oh, there's a cool new ad at the bottom, like I might as well just scroll past it. So balancing being a credible source of information but also attractive to capturing people's attention.
Definitely. Such important points. Thank you.
Well, and I just to follow up on that, I mean, I think it's so important because as you are you're really representing what's the research out there for either psychologists in training or psychologists in Illinois, and hopefully, people outside of Illinois will have
Mhm.
this for social media. But I mean, really, how this is just such an important avenue for practitioners to be able to see the kind of evidence-based research that you are writing. So thank you so much. Your implications there and great ones, I think. So to follow up, as women, you say the challenges are that you face. Specifically, we're quite curious too how you think it might differ for men, male colleagues who are in media and what they're doing and the difficulties you might experience.
Yeah, so I definitely think that just like in all areas, there are huge double standards for women. I feel like men, especially in like the influencer world in general, they can get away with saying anything, honestly, racist remarks, sexist remarks, and their audience just isn't going to hold them to a level of accountability that I feel like women are held to. And they just, in more I feel like they have to explain themselves more, justify their actions more when it is misinterpreted or misperceived versus and that can kind of like really ruin their career or make a huge impact that everyone just remembers them by for that one thing and not all of the other things, great things that they might have done. So I definitely think that that is a huge thing and it depends on the audiences, like who's paying more attention to what and who's drawn to what. And so um, yeah, I definitely think there's that huge double standard in place. But as women, we're also just like our beauty and our behavior is much more paid attention to instead of like the actual content. And so that is another like frustrating part that I think a lot of women in the industry struggle with like actually being taken seriously, but still being, just because I care about my appearance or my beauty or how I dress doesn't take away from all of the other things that I'm bringing to the table.
Yes, there's definitely a increased sense of needing to be perfect
Mm-hmm.
or right on the money all the time. And especially if you look at, who's going viral or things that are trending, it attracts a lot of comments and it's more noticeable that women in media will receive more hate comments or like comments that are targeted towards appearance despite whatever background you may have or
Mm-hmm.
be speaking about.
I'm curious, do you employ or like use any kind of mantra or strategy to kind of remind yourselves when and if you are frustrated by the double standard? Like, how do you kind of just like stay really zoned in and focused and not really be deterred by what you've
Mm-hmm.
been doing in that way?
Yeah. I think it takes a lot of time, but just like believing in yourself, which is such a personal journey, but genuinely understanding that what you're bringing to the table isn't needed and that there are so many people that respond to it and like really enjoy what you're putting out there, specifically to like social media. I think for me, I always just try to know that I'm not perfect and that everyone is going to perceive things the way that they are. And that's more of a reflection of their personal journey and not mine. And so I think keeping that is one of the more important things that I try to remember.
Fantastic.
And like criticism is essential
Mm-hmm.
to growth. However, the weight you give certain critiques matter more in different contexts or from different people. And odds are criticism like that, just in comment sections or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, they don't physically know you and your being and your energy. And um, it's easier to think about it that way, that it's not a personal attack.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in one ear out the other, almost like your energy will be felt by the people that you know.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like it's so important who you put out there in terms of makeup, hair, face these days. Like it offers people essential, crucial pieces of information about who's actually delivering the messages, right? How do you keep up with all of that? And do you even buy in to all of that? Or do you just try to present who you are and let people take the message at face value?
I definitely think it was when I was younger, I was really big into all of the trends and like fell for all of those things. And I think that kind of like got it out of my system quicker too, because I realized like it's not really who you are, right? It's just like what everybody wants to be at that moment, especially like with the trends and things like that. And I think just always, being confident in yourself and knowing, like I just keep saying, like knowing what you bring to the table, but it really does matter. And you have to think about this, your struggles and what got you here, and that like no one can take those away from you. And I think like in regards to beauty and stuff, I don't know, it's kind of hard because you don't want people to, especially young girls, to feel like any pressure to change the way that they are, but you don't want to say that other procedures or things are bad either. Like everyone should be comfortable in their own skin. So I think it kind of gets hard with that, especially towards like younger generation, with like how we're seeing how easy it is to do these types of procedures. Like it gets kind of hard.
I agree, and seconding off of that whole line of like authenticity is what draws people most into different accounts and brings the most attention, is just you being you. And I will say though, even when we record, like I'm going to make sure that I have makeup on and I'm feeling like the best version of myself. And I think that also translates with confidence too. So when we're interviewing like other people to be a part of IPA, like the hope is like you're just coming as your best version of yourself. And sometimes that means you're wearing a cute outfit.
Right.
I love it. I love it. Speaking of your role as social media coordinators, you two spotlight leaders in our association. Does the attention to those posts and does meeting the leaders, does that draw you toward leadership more, or does it actually make you to pause and maybe decide to step away from it?
You know, I always step away from those conversations in awe because I think about how diverse and expansive everyone's careers are, and nobody's pathway is the same. And I find it so impressive and like inspiring that you can reinvent yourself and you can have all these different kinds of interests and balance it all, and it all shapes how what your approach to leadership is. And it's been interesting hearing everybody else talk about their experience and what informed like different ways that they do things. And it kind of helps us conceptualize what one day our leadership approach might look like.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it's really inspiring to see all the diversity within like the field and how like people can do so many different things with being a psychologist. I definitely feel like I want to continue pursuing like leadership roles. Like right now, I'm like vice president of a student government, so that's really exciting, and I really wanted to help students embrace like the social justice aspect that Adler already kind of has, and bringing that into like our work and understanding that these are our colleagues, like these are people we're going to get to keep working with throughout our careers, and that building these connections right now and learning what it is that people are interested in, and kind of how can we all help each other out based off of our interests, and bringing that now to the student level and helping people see that it's not like you don't need to graduate and be licensed to start your career or start advancing yourself or start seeking out networking opportunities. Like these are all things that you can do now, and that the field makes it extremely accessible to do all of those things. So yeah, I'm really, really excited. And both of our supervisors are like great, and we learned so much from Dr. Ziniad and Dr. Maniscalco. So seeing their leadership and like the support that they have for both of us is also super inspiring for, hopefully when we get to mentor people and like be supervisors in the future. So it's all super great.
That's awesome. I can't wait to hear how your voices develop.
I'm so relieved that your answer was yes. We want our field needs you. And I agree that your specialties can start as soon as you start pursuing your passions.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we in doing this podcast, we really love to hear who has inspired the people that we have been interviewing. Where did this all begin? Who are the women or women that really guided you and pushed you, and whether it was from a young age or a supervisor today, who inspired you to lead?
So for me, it's definitely my mom. She has always been like she's the breadwinner in our family, extremely hardworking, and has taken on a lot of leadership roles. And I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia, and she's like a South Asian first generation woman, and had to really face a lot of adversity in her time. And she would always talk about like the good old boys club, like that's the majority of who her coworkers are, and kind of constantly having to prove herself over and over and over again, while other people, men specifically, don't have that expectation and could easily just go up because of whatever, right? Because of personal friendships and things like that. So I learned a lot of resiliency from her the most, and learning about how to be assertive, but not in a way where you're commanding, right? There's such a delicate balance when it comes to leadership. And I think that I learned a lot of that from her. And she also was passionate about doing things like throwing speaking events for women and women in diversity, like at her job. And so that was also just always inspirational to see her take on those like leadership and speaking roles, and always being like, oh, I want to do that like mom. So definitely she's like been my biggest influential roles for everything.
I also want to say my mom, but I'm going to go off about my grandmother because much of what her being was is my mom as well. But I feel like she's like the founder of doing it all and making everything work. And she like taught me networking before I could really articulate that that was networking. Like she always just knew what everybody was doing and always knew to follow up. And I think like that's just like a lost art in forming connections and really being present. And she was so involved in the community and always had different passion projects going on top of having a career and a family, and learning how to like juggle all of that. Like there is that pressure that women have, the choice between career and family and all of those things, and seeing her handle all of that graciously. But then also, this is just like a funny aside, but I always try and plug Zendaya anytime I can. But she is my inspiration of like when I'm feeling not like my most confident self. I'm like, how would Zendaya walk into this room? So she does
True.
need credit in
She
my role
does.
model spiel.
I absolutely love this. I love the reframe of networking in terms of just like being one of those community staples who knew what everyone was doing and then like could connect. And I love the reframe of what would Jesus do to what would Zendaya do. I am down with that.
Well, I was just going to say that
So
you have to do whatever Rue, uh, isn't the name Rue on Euphoria?
Euphoria.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen Zendaya lip sync to Beyonce, it's
Oh,
some real serious stuff. You got to do whatever Zendaya says. Okay, so what's next?
I want to hear about your women that have influenced your
Hmm.
careers as well too.
Oh my goodness, the tables have been turned. Abby, I'll let you go first.
Just got really red because I wasn't expecting that. I'm really impressed right now by their skills. Um, yeah, I mean, for sure, my mom and Christina and I plan to release a mom version of an episode in which we interview our moms. Uh,
Oh,
so definitely her, because she probably would never call herself a leader, but is just kind of embodies it in a very unexpected and not showy way, and just kind of is does what needs to be done, and does it with grace. And so I'd say her. There are others, but I'm going to throw it over to Christina.
yeah, I think I love this waxing on our moms. And I think that the most important lesson that she taught me was that peace is an okay leadership track to take. Being able to calm conflict, being able to find middle ground with people, being able to kind of just try to walk into a room and affect the energy toward peace and collaboration and advancement, of course. But that was really what the lesson that she honed for me. And I try to take that with me every day, especially lately in this crazy socio-political environment that we live.
Mhm.
But I'm going to turn the tables back around to the two of you. And just kind of because I want to know like what advice you have. So going from your influences to being an influencer, what influence or what advice do you have for women who might be seeking either leadership roles or public roles that, rely on their credibility and their voice?
Yeah. So I think like just making content, whatever it is, whether it's like writing, whether it's you're making videos, and just starting to get really good at the craft and learning what your style is, like what you do like, what you don't like. And, do you like when you're doing a voiceover versus when you're talking it like this? Like all those little things that seem small, like there is a unique style to that people, like Julie mentioned, like that's your authenticity in this way of like, how do you produce creatively this type of content specifically, and also like just speaking out loud, speaking to yourself, like those are like smaller tips, but I think that helped me gain the confidence to start telling people that this is something I am interested in, and like believing that this is something that I can do and will do. And that helped me, get this position just from even telling my friends that I liked this, like they were the ones who referred me to it. I think doing those little things to get yourself out of the box, if that is something you want to do, but then also like knowing who you are, like being authentic to yourself and sticking to what your goals are is a really good way to ground yourself when there is like, people who might not agree with what you're putting out, or there are hate comments, or there are some things. Like grounding yourself in like, I know who I am, I know what my message is, I know what my intention is all like a really, really important way, I think, to seek out those types of things, especially for wanting to be like an influencer or making content.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And kind of piggybacking off of that, like it's kind of all about establishing your brand, whatever that may be. You don't want to be, cookie cutter and not trying to keep up with the Joneses, like producing content that feels like yourself. I mean, even thinking about how there's like this shift now within therapy, like people are looking for clinicians who kind of like they identify with in some capacity, or get along with on a personal level, rather than like, oh, they do use this intervention and they have this qualification. I mean, those things are important, but there is like that trend that's shifting. And I also think holding yourself accountable is really important, especially like with younger generations. A lot of Gen Z looks to influencers for like social commentary, and even these like big corporations are expected to have some sort of form of advocacy. And I think when you are putting content out there, you do kind of have a bit of a responsibility um, to amplify voices and speak on things in a way that feels genuine to you, especially if you're going to talk about things related to psychology, and using your voice of credibility when applicable.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
And finally, so this is one of my very favorite questions. We ask all of our guests, what did we not ask you today? What questions did we not ask you that you think would be important for our listeners to know? So, is there any tidbit or a bit of wisdom that you would like to share with our listeners?
I don't know if I have a question, but I know like some things I would want to share is just kind of going off what Julia said. But like if you're going to be a leader, you're going to make mistakes, and it's more about how you take accountability for those mistakes, and more about using your experience with other people to develop your leadership style, and like develop the way that, or like collaborating is how those experiences are kind of going to shape the way that you do things moving forward. And like learning the balance that it's not really about what I want at all. It's about like, how do I help all these other people get what they want in a way that still makes sense to what our core focus is and what our core mission is. And it's a very hard to do, and like it will take a lot of time, but it really, as long as you're authentic and you're genuine and people know who you are, what you're doing and why you're doing it, I think that really helps with them trusting that what you're going to do, and gaining that type of trust and with your peers and stuff like that. So yeah.
Absolutely. It sometimes is a long road to getting there, to like
Mhm.
getting to know who you are and what you can advocate for. But yes, yes, definitely. Julia, I cut you off.
Oh, I was just gonna add on with, I don't have a question per se, but I have something to say.
Yeah.
um,
Yes, say it.
so we talk a lot about social media, bringing community, and I feel like it's one of those things that's easier said than done. And I think it's really important to highlight with the conversation of social media that it should and does go beyond just following someone or interacting. Like we were talking about networking and connections, like being open to putting yourself in spaces to actually make those connections tangible, are really important, and you can collaborate and all of that. So it goes beyond just a like or a follow.
Mhm.
You really have to put yourself out there, and especially with like how saturated things are, you have to take the risk. You have to be willing to be confident in yourself and talk about what you are interested in, and trust that other people are going to find some type of peace and like understand that and like be interested in it as well. So yeah.
So helpful. Thank you. Ladies, you're so inspirational. How can we haven't even gotten into, we've run out of time, but we would always run out of time getting into your past lives and everything that you have done with socials, but also just kind of for the mental health field and for community in general. How can people follow you and your journeys? How can we help promote you?
One, follow Illinois Psychology on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Threads, X. I
I
believe
think that's
that's
good.
it.
Oh, perfect. Love it.
Some shameless self promotion, but also
We were not paid and we were not paid for
it would make us smile.
Yeah, we would really love it, and you'd get to see all the great stuff that we put out and talk about. Also, just LinkedIn. I think like it's just my first and last name on LinkedIn, and yeah.
Me as well.
Yep. We'll include the links in our show notes.
Okay,
We
perfect.
look forward to bringing the two of you together with some of our other local guests so that way you can network, and we want to just see the both of you thrive. It already seems that that is the case, but however we can help you in your careers, please let us know.
Thank you
Thank
so much.
you.
We really do appreciate it. It's been such a great time, like at IPA in general, like meeting everyone. It's just been like open arms, and seeing how well received like what we're doing is just like a huge motivation to keep going and like go for all of the ideas that we have. So we really appreciate it.
I'm so glad to hear that. We couldn't be more thankful.